everyone. So we will begin because time is of the essence. Thank you for being here tonight. And you are at Let Me Try That Again. And it's a workshop about processing perceived failures, setbacks, loss, or rapid change. And I want to welcome you. This is Thomas Schulteis, and you're about to participate. So let's get started. The Let Me Try That Again workshop is a workshop on processing rapid change or perceived failures, loss, criticism, all the things that life may throw at us. For most of you, we will not definitively solve anything today. In the short amount of time, we may just be discovering it, start talking about it, and share some tools to process it. Sometimes this process can take minutes, or it can take hours, or even years. Let me try that again as a process could make working through this easier, healthier, and maybe even more efficient. Hopefully you can begin to work through some tough topics without getting stuck in perceived failures. So I'm going to share with you a quote that's inspired myself and my co-creator of this workshop, Susan Blackwell. It's a quote by John Lennon, which is, "Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end." So one thing I'd like you to do with me for just a second is I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, actually. Close your eyes, and I want you to attune yourself with what you're hearing, maybe what you're touching, anything of the senses that you can smell. I also want you to check in with how are you feeling? Are you fatigued? Are you relieved? Are you anxious? None of this has to be aspirational or constructive or positive. It's just really getting in touch. Okay, so now open your eyes. And it looks like, okay, so we have a few participants. Because there are just so few at this point, what I'd like to do instead of relying on the chat as much is if you could unmute, and therefore we could actually have more of a dialogue. So I'd like to go around the room, the Zoom room, and hear a couple of things from you. I'd like to hear your name. I'd like to hear where you're located. And then I'm really interested in anything interesting that happened to you this week. So I will start the ball rolling myself, and then I'm going to toss it to someone else. And then when you're done, please toss it to someone else. So as you know, my name is Thomas, and I'm greeting you today from Long Beach, California. And something interesting that happened for me this week was I was invited to be a part of a creative team. And I'm really excited about that opportunity. It's coming at a really interesting time in my life. I will toss it to, is it Sandhya?
Yeah, it's good enough. Okay, well, I recently completed a class called Your Creative Calling with Saddleback Visual Arts. And there you learn to uncover what you really want to do as an artist. And it was really surprising for me because I found out that the way that I'm the very most creative is with ideas, constructive ideas for helping people or solving problems. So I call it my idea ministry, and I just help people however I can to solve what problem they're having. And I even wrote an email to Jeff Bezos of Amazon yesterday.
Okay, that's definitely interesting. And where are you zooming in from?
I live in Laguna Hills.
Laguna Hills. Great. Can you toss it to someone else that you see on the screen?
I'm going to Joel Cruz.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Joel.
I'm actually tech support for the for the workshop, but I'll be happy to pitch in. I am actually in Santa Ana, California, just a few blocks away from where our Boca de Oro festival is normally, and I'm just happy that everybody is here today. My regular community liaison for the high school. I'm also a soccer coach. And there's something interesting happening with everything that's happening. We've actually been allowed to start playing a little, so we're excited for that. But thank you all for being here today.
Awesome, Joel. Can you toss it to someone, Joel?
How about my colleague Angela?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Angela Baena. I am also joining in from Santa Ana, California. Oh, well, I think we all may be in California right now, but joining in from Santa Ana, where we usually have a festival. I am also a family and community engagement liaison at two of our alternative ed high schools here in Santa Ana. So one interesting thing that happened to me, I started journaling, so just kind of going through the motion of what I was writing and, really being mindful of it. So I really enjoyed that, and I thought it was interesting how it really does kind of have an effect on you.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. And if you could toss to someone else that you see.
I am going to toss to Cynthia Spitzer.
Hi, I'm a teacher. I live in Santa Ana. I'm a teacher in Santa Ana. I teach kindergarten. And what was interesting for me this week is I'm going to be retiring. And so I held my last parent conferences.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Okay. Yes, congratulations. And thank you for all of your years of work. That's awesome.
Thank you. And I will toss it to Jason.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Holland, and I'm coming to you also from Santa Ana, California. I'm struggling with coming up with something interesting because I'm so isolated at home. Oh, can you hear me, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so isolated at home, but I decided that my answer is I had some unexpected mechanical problems with some appliances in the house this week and found myself problem solving with tools and equipment and crawling around cabinets and things. So not the most interesting thing ever, but using a different muscle than I have had to use in the past 11 months working from my kitchen. So there you go. And I will toss it to Thomas Butler.
Hi, Tom. I'm also in Santa Ana. I'm a teacher at Nova Charter School downtown. Interesting things. A crow has decided that it's now going to nest outside my window of my classroom. So as I'm on my Zoom classes with my students, they're all watching the progress of our new neighbor. So that's been fun.
like a live stream. I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you for joining. Someone else to toss to?
I'm sorry, I'm on my phone. I can't see another person to toss to there.
Let's see.
Could you pick someone that isn't?
Sure. I've got Nora. Nora, are you there?
Hi, yeah. So something interesting today, I played my guitar, some Spanish songs on the guitar. So I got to think about the codes, the chords in Spanish. I had to do code switching real quick.
Awesome. And where are you calling in from, Nora?
Santa Ana also.
Santa Ana. Okay. We have seen, who have we not seen?
Joshua, Josue.
Josue, are you going to say something? I know he's on our technical team. Jose, do you want to participate, or do you want to pass?
I also see.
Sorry, I'll have to pass right now because I'm also monitoring another session.
There we go.
I apologize, but thank you for
It's
the
okay.
Someone
No.
else,
It's good.
Someone else just joined us.
It looks like we did. Someone that it says SAUSD Arts.
I think it's McNamara Joan, or what's her name? The one that's
Robin McNair.
Robin McNair. I know Robin McNair.
That's right, you do.
That's me. I should rename myself. Hi. So
You
good
should.
to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome. You are the last introduction that we're going to get, and what we want to know is your name and where you're zooming in from, and something interesting that happened to you this week.
Oh, okay. I'll think about that. Which one can I pick?
All of them.
All of them, yeah. Name, where you're calling from, and something interesting. I think we've stumped you, Robin.
You did.
Signing in here was an interesting ordeal.
Yeah, we heard that.
I'm thinking. There's so many things. It's a convergence of thoughts all at once. Something interesting.
Get them all out.
Uh,
Anything that
Workshop is interesting.
okay, there you go. We could take that. Got it. Okay, Robin in the chat. Thank you. And that's a great transition. She wrote, Robin, Santa Ana, someone stole my grocery delivery. Oh,
Wow.
no.
Wow.
That's too bad.
Wow.
Yikes. Was it a lot of groceries or a little bit?
it was a significant amount.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's too bad. Okay.
Yeah, I got just one bag. It was weird.
Well, it's certainly interesting.
Right?
All right, everyone. So let's, thank you for joining us, Robin. Let's continue. I'm going to ask you all now to just close your eyes again. And these are challenging times as we are experiencing in so many ways, even just tonight, right? Just technically and people having a hard time getting in. And so I just want to ask, and this is just going to be a chat response, but I'm going to ask you, what are you doing to maintain your sanity and care for yourself? Are you meditating? Are you taking walks? Are you doing puzzles? Are you writing journal? Are you organizing Zoom happy hours? Anything that is, just go ahead and write it in the chat. Walks, yeah. Being intentional about getting outside, that is so true. Walk and bike ride. Walking and writing. I know that I've been reading. Yes, Thomas, same thing. I've been reading so much. It's like I have so many books. Making art while whale watching. Oh, creating art. Awesome, Angela. Okay, so keep going forward. If you happen to have like something to write on, a pen, grab those. If not, maybe phone, something near you that when we get to some writing pieces, I want you to be prepared for that. So this is a heads up on that. And also because we're going to have really short amount of time, we've got, just a few, like 43 minutes left. It's going to go fast. So if you're having a great time, I'm sorry, it'll be over soon. If you have a miserable time, don't worry, it's almost over. So a few thoughts before we dig in. Please do your best to try to remain present during this time. I know that we're virtually experiencing this, but like I said, just a short amount of time. I'm also going to ask for some confidentiality. Anything that I say, you're welcome to share, but what other people share, I'd like you to respect that and keep that confidential. I'm going to give you a content warning. Things may or may not come up, but sometimes when we dig into perceived failures, it can be an emotional experience. So I want people to know before we go forward that that's possible. And finally, let us be gentle and compassionate, both with ourselves and with others. We are living in unprecedented times. Things are changing rapidly, moment by moment. There's a great deal of uncertainty, so be gentle with yourself. So if I were going to quickly summarize the work we're doing today, I would use the words of Ijoma Umobinyo. And she says three things. One, you must let the pain visit. Two, you must allow it to teach you. And three, you must not allow it to overstay. So just take another look at those. You must let the pain visit. I know I find that to be sometimes the most challenging part of all, because something will hit us unexpectedly, or we'll find ourselves in these moments of uncertainty. And the last thing we want to do is actually let it visit. It's very easy to compartmentalize or move it aside or distract ourselves with something else, including a glass of wine. So the idea is we're going to try to let the pain visit. That allowing it to teach you is also a part of the process I'm going to share with you tonight. And then also, you must not allow it to overstay. And part of the premise of Let Me Try That Again came from this idea that we have these perceived failures that sometimes block us from doing things and being the kind of people that we want to be. So I'm going to introduce you now to the fails process. It's 5 steps. It's an overview. We've taken FAILS, as you can see. So let me tell you about them first, and then we're going to work through them. And then we will repeat them again at the end in the overview. So first draft, all the feels, inhale, exhale, learning. So let me try that again. So let's dig in. The first draft, when you are beginning to consider a perceived failure, is you just want to get it down or get it out in its roughest first draft. You either write it down, you share it with an emotionally intelligent or empathetic friend. I'm just giving you this overview, and then we're going to work through these. The second step is all the feels. What does it feel like in your body, in the heart, in the mind, and in your behavior? It's trying to connect what's happening in your head with how it feels in your body, which can really inform a lot of it. Next part of the process is inhale, exhale. It turns out that a lot of times when you start to deal with these things and then you start to feel it, it can overwhelm your nervous system. So using tactical or box breathing can be a way to calm your nervous system. So we're going to learn that too. The fourth step is learning. It's where you use curiosity, exploration, and examination. You try to find out what can be discovered, mined, made, or even celebrated from this. And then ask yourself this question of, instead of why is this happening to me? Why is this happening for me? And then finally, so let me try that again. It's rewriting the ending. It's the idea that if it's not okay, it's not the end. There's an opportunity to extend this perceived failure beyond what we've already experienced to this point. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you now to, everyone shut your eyes again. And I want you to think and see if you can find a brief story about a time that you experienced a perceived failure, or a rapid change that you encountered, or a piece of criticism that you've experienced, or even a loss. It could be from the past, it could be in the present, or it can be even be a future failure that you're afraid of. If you could virtually use your virtual reaction and put a thumbs up if you've started to discover a perceived failure or a brief story about that. Great, I see a couple. Cynthia, Robin, I'm sorry, Nora, Jason. Is anyone having trouble finding anything?
I can give you one of mine.
So before you do, and thank you for offering, here's what I want you to do. Robin, I hear you, and I'm going to speak this because you might not be the only one, and that you wrote this to everyone. I'm going to point this out. Robin wrote that she has too many to choose from. And I'm glad that you shared that, Robin, because even beginning to consider this arena of thought can be anxiety producing or feel overwhelming. So Don't worry about finding one right now, but what I want to do is I want to give you 5 minutes with your pen and your paper to write out this particular perceived failure. And what I want to give you permission to do is that it should be messy and sloppy, and the grammar should be bad, and it shouldn't be about good handwriting. This is about being a bad first draft that doesn't have to be perfect. This is about getting it out onto the paper. Is everyone clear with the instructions? If anyone is not clear, just let me know. I'm going to set the timer on my phone. You now have 5 minutes. I'm going to let you begin now. If you are stuck for any reason, put pen to paper and just move it in like a circle and spiral it around until something might come to you. Just let the pen keep moving until something occurs to you. If it feels random, write it down. Try to use this exercise to get it out. If you're stuck or you have any questions, you can direct message me in the chat box. You still have 3 minutes remaining. Again, if you get stuck or you pause, just keep your pen moving. You still have 2 minutes. 20 seconds. If you're not finished, don't worry. You can always return to this to continue. Okay, that's 5 minutes. Okay, everyone. So here's what I'm going to ask you, because this is a workshop and we're here with each other. If you are comfortable enough, could you summarize into the chat what you wrote about? Just one sentence or two. If you don't want to share, you do not have to share. It is not an obligation. But if anyone is open or willing to share. Cynthia, could you tell me how to pronounce your name properly?
Oh, sorry. My name is pronounced Sandhya, and it means, it means twilight in Sanskrit.
Thank you, Sandhya. It's a beautiful name. Thank you. I didn't want to mispronounce it.
It's okay.
So Sandhya wrote about a failed effort to stop her sister from having her completely disinherited, which is, there's a lot there. And Jason was sharing how he feels during pandemic and how it negatively affects his creative spirit and self-care. Robin sharing, I thought about the times I failed myself by not speaking my truth and doing what I thought others wanted me to do, rather than being true to myself. Anyone else wish to share? Add it to the chat. Cynthia, not taking opportunities out of fear. Yes, I feel that one. That's a visceral shock for me on that one. Recognition. So this first draft, Nora, thank you. I thought about my failing feet. That's what you've experienced, this first draft, right? It's not supposed to be pretty. It's about getting it down. It's putting in its rough draft. You know, you're sharing it with this closed and safe group. In the real world, you may share it with an emotionally intelligent or empathetic friend. But here's what I want you to do. Everyone that shared and everyone that didn't share, as long as you started tackling this in your writing, I want you to, I'd like to have everyone go off mute. And I want to hear, how does it feel in your body when you think about these different topics that you brought up? Describe to me how it feels in your, anyone have any examples of that? Where does it show up?
Fearful is how it feels.
Fearful. And where do you feel that, Nora? Where do you feel the fear? Is it in your head? Is it in your chest? Do you feel it in your arms? Does it have you clenched somewhere?
Probably my, well, I have all my tension in my shoulders and my neck. I hold it there in my stomach.
Okay, neck, stomach, shoulders. I think some of us can identify with that. Anyone else? Any other feelings that they have? I know my hands get cold, like they get really cold, and my face gets really flush. And sometimes I lose like my focus and my train of thought if something really strikes me. Anyone else have other ways that it shows up in their body?
A couple of ways for me. One is I feel it in the pit of my stomach and
yes,
have stomach issues, and I clench my jaw.
And do you feel that like back in the joints, or do you feel like in your teeth and the lower part of your jaw?
Well, here's a weird fact. I have apparently done this my entire life because I have extra bone growth because I've clenched so much, even in my sleep.
Because you've done it.
Yeah, for a long time. So yeah, it's in my whole jaw bones, just my teeth coming together real tight.
Okay. Anyone else have any other physical ways that it manifests itself?
I think in nightmares, dreams.
It shows up in nightmares for you.
Yeah, like last night
Yeah.
I was running and running. Someone's chasing me, trying to kill me.
Is it related to, Nora, is it related to the failing feet that you're talking about?
I don't know. Just there's just a lot of stresses. Like, you know, I could do more. Then things are not perfect, and you know, shooting myself or shooting myself, and
Yeah, totally. And the insomnia is absolutely part of it. I'm sure that a lot of us have had some sleepless nights during the pandemic, or that we've woken up in the middle of the night and then all of a sudden we're up. Okay, so thank you all for sharing and sharing some of those physical pieces. Thank you also for sharing some of these, personal things that you're talking about. Now, at this point, what I find, because our nervous systems, whether it's the jaws that were mentioned, or whether we talk about our hands, or we talk about our stomach, or we talk about like the tension in our shoulders, this is an opportunity to practice tactical or box breathing. And what the purpose of it is to calm us down again. So the idea is that we're bringing these topics up, we're feeling it in our bodies, but we're also giving ourselves a tool to calm our bodies down before we move further into the process. So let me take you through, I'm just going to take you through 3 cycles of the tactical or box breathing so that you can take this with you anywhere you go. If you've experienced it before, great. If you haven't, this is something you can do anywhere, really. You can be doing it in the grocery store or in your car or in your room. What it is you breathe in through your nose for 4. You hold your breath for 4, and then you exhale out through your mouth for 4, holding again for 4. So think of it like a box of that. In through the nose, you hold, out through the mouth, you hold, in through the nose, you hold, out through the mouth, you hold. So I'm going to take everybody through. Some of you I can see and some of you I can't. 3 cycles of it, okay? Just so you get a sense. I want you to pay attention to see if any of the nervousness or anxiety or shoulders or whatever, if it eases at all by doing this. It may or may not. We're only doing 3. Okay, so breathe in through the nose, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and in through the nose, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth, 3, 4, hold. 1 more time, and in through the nose, 3, 4, hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale to the 3, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4. Now let yourself breathe normally again. Did anyone notice even the slightest change in reduction? Robin, you're shaking your head yes. Lovely to hear that, because it is a tool that you could use at any time you're feeling anxious or stressed. I don't think there's anything wrong with considering doing it before you go to bed, that you give yourself calming breaths to move forward. Thank you all for participating. Now this next part, because again, I'm going to trust that you all did your writing. I'm going to do something that I haven't done virtually before. I usually do it in person, but I figured why not? It's Friday, we're virtual, it's a pandemic. So the learning, one, I want you to start contemplating from this initial writing that you've done. Is there anything in using your curiosity, anything in you using your imagination that can be discovered? Is there anything you can learn from this? What is it in this particular perceived failure that you're looking at? Is there any possible learning? So I'm going to do this little woo thing with you. I'm going to call it the woo zone. We're going to go to the woo zone, but I figured why not? It is, to be quite honest, it's a way to kind of tap into our subconscious. So some of you I can see and some of you I cannot. So whether you do it or not, that's going to be up to you. But here's what you're going to do. You're going to consider this particular perceived failure, and I'm going to describe this cave that we're going to step into to get together in our imaginations. I'm going to describe it, and then I'm going to ask you to look for something there, okay? So I want you to go into this cave with me right now, And in this cave, if you have your hands able, I want you to put your hands like whatever surface you've got in front of you. And I want you to imagine this kind of 12-inch high dirt, but it's that really light kind of like almost like cocoa powder, that if you put your hand in that cocoa powder and you put it in there, it's like it poofs up like it would, like as if you had a hot chocolate or something. And I want so you could actually see your handprint in this kind of cocoa powder dirt, right? And what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes now. And in this imagined area of this cave that we're in, I want you to move your hand through this like powdery cocoa powder thing. And I want you to move it around until your hand and therefore your mind kind of comes up against something. You find something. It could be anything. And I don't want to give you too much direction other than you move your hand in this crazy little thing and you're thinking about this perceived failure that you have, and you run into an object or something that you find. And I want you to take it in your hand, whatever it might be, and I want you to hold it close to you. Like I said, it's the woo zone, but if there's anything that you found, and if anyone found anything, now open your eyes, and what I want you to do is I want you to write in the chat box what you found. I'm going to write mine just as an example. Okay, Jason found some sculpting clay, fascinating. I found black hair ties, which I already know what that is. Cynthia, black shiny stone. Sandhya, the memory of my sister's lifelong abuse. A toucan, Robin, fascinating. So what I want you to do, is anyone else that found anything else that they want to send in the chat box? You're welcome to. But what I want to present to you about what you found, even if it was a memory, Sandhya, or if it was an object, I want you to now consider, is there any relation or connection to this perceived failure that you had? Does anyone see a connection to any of that?
Well, in my case, yes.
Yes, yours, Sandhya, is very, very specific, right? Anyone with the objects, does anything show up? I'm going to give you an example of the black hair ties that showed up for me. I have a now 20-year-old foster son who has hair that's about down to his waist, and he ties it up with black hair ties in like a snap. And so I saw the black hair tie for him. So for me, it was a pretty obvious connection. Okay, so that's part of the learning. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to a couple more minutes of writing for, let me try that again. So I want you to go back to your writing, and I'm going to give you, I believe I'm going to give you about 3 minutes each to think about two things. One, I want you to write down if there was anything that you were learning, anything significant that you found about the object that you found when you went into the cave. And also, I want you then to imagine, is there a different ending, a different perspective, a different view that you can put on that perceived failure? Because it's a writing exercise, I want you to view it as you are rewriting the story. Are the directions clear? You're back to writing. You're talking about your learning, anything that you learn, if the object or what you found in the cave is connected, and is there an alternate ending? Is there another version of the story that you could just make up? That you can just make up something else? Any questions? Okay, begin. Two minutes remaining. Again, the prompt is, you're looking at this failure and you're considering, what if the story was different? What would that look like? 1 minute remaining. You can have multiple versions too, multiple things that you try. Twenty seconds remaining. Okay, the time is up for the writing. So is anyone willing to share that experience? Anyone at all willing to share?
All right, I'll take a risk.
Okay, Robin, thank you. So tell us first, I know you wrote it in the chat, but tell us what you had as a perceived failure.
So I was really examining the times in my life where I failed myself, right? I wasn't true to myself. So when I was rubbing my hands in the chocolate dust, if you will, then I stumbled upon a toucan, because I was reminded some times ago, it made me think about just being vibrant and loud and expressive and could be my toucan self, right?
Wow.
So to embrace the energy of the toucan, if you will, so that I can like forgive myself and then love myself as I am, like with all my imperfections, and it's okay, so that I'll have the courage to move forward in the future to choose myself over letting others choose for me, which I have done. And I saw some other people in the chat talking about, fear-based living. And I think this is all driven by that, right? So even as old as I am, it's like, we continue to wrestle with these things. So, so yeah, the next time that something comes up, I'm going to think of my toucan and I'm going to say, well, I think I need to say this in this moment rather than maybe swallowing it, which is why my jaw gets clenched.
Wow, that's fascinating. So Robin, is the toucan something that's shown up before in your life, or was this the first time that's shown up?
No, it showed up a while ago and I forgot about it till you helped me remember it tonight.
Okay. As I've done this work, that part of that cave and that exploration sometimes has interesting rewards to it.
Absolutely.
So what do you feel, and you kind of touched on it at the end, but what would you feel is your let me try that again? How do you feel that translated for you from finding the toucan?
I think it's so important to consciously flip the narrative. Like I so easily fall prey to those negative things, and I'm consciously trying to rewrite my narrative every day, right?
Mm.
So even every night I try to do a reflective practice to remind myself, okay, this is how I was resilient. This is how I had good fortune. This is how I'm letting go. And the big one is the letting go.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a journey, and certainly I step in it more than not, but it's a conscious practice. So thank you for helping me add to my conscious practice to rewrite my narratives, because it's something I have to be mindful of all the time.
Robin, it's so you articulated it so well. It is a conscious practice. That's exactly what it is. And what you also touched upon that I want to remind everyone, Robin showed the example of letting the pain visit. You allowed it to teach you that you're like, wait, maybe I can see some of these good qualities of the toucan, but then also part of it is letting it go, like being okay with that idea. And also, Robin, may I point out that it clearly helped you enough that you said, okay, I'm going to speak up on this Zoom virtual thing that we're doing. And I'm grateful. You're being a toucan. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that courage and that vulnerability, especially in this kind of platform. I think it shows a lot of courage, and thank you for sharing that.
Well, thank you for allowing this safe space and for me to have this opportunity to be reminded and to practice being my toucan self.
I love it. That's fantastic. Does anyone else wish to share any of this process that happened for them? Or is everyone too scared and reluctant to do so?
Well, I've had sort of a lot of practice, so I can just share about my abusive family. And I ended up in decades of therapy, and I also chose to stop confronting them about the problem. And maybe things could have been better or different if I never stopped confronting them or became more aggressive, but instead I just eventually withdrew from all family contact. And it's sad, to live your life that way. And there's still life ahead of me. Of the family, only my sister is still alive. The least one I wish would be alive. But anyway, I've got to think and pray about whether I should try to resume any sort of connection with her.
So Cynthia, may I ask you, in your writing, when you were rewriting the story of Let Me Try That Again, did anything show up for you in that process, in that exercise?
Well, just more consideration of what it would have been like to confront them a lot more aggressively.
Okay, so you're looking at it as a possibility of what if you had done it a slightly different way.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, as I said at the beginning, Cynthia, and I want you to remember this because we all hear you with the struggle that you've gone through. This 1 hour workshop that we have today won't be there to resolve it for you. But what you shared just now about that piece of looking at another approach that you could have taken, or you could even take just through a writing exercise. I will encourage you to explore that a little bit more after this workshop, so that in your writing, let me try it again. What would that look like? What would that have looked like if you had gone in that different way? And something to consider. Because as I said, we're not necessarily resolving anything tonight, but taking these 5 steps that I've shared with you is a process, as Robin mentioned, a conscious process that you can take yourself through step by step and piece by piece, and not feel like you're overwhelmed and you have to tackle the whole thing because you are dealing with an entire family history. But start back at the beginning and just go, let me do another first draft of this. Let me see how it feels in my body. Let me calm my nervous system and breathe. Let me see if there's anything I can learn, like just what you said. And so if you were going to try it again, how would you rewrite it? And it sounds to you, that is the discovery, it sounds like you're sharing with all of us, that you've said, well, what if I had been more assertive in those times? And that may be what you walk away with today, just from this short amount of time. And I'm really grateful for you sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we are now at 4 minutes, which is what I said would happen. We would, if you enjoyed it, oh well, it's gonna be over soon. If you didn't, guess what, it's almost over. But here's what I want to do in kind of a recap. I want to say this is the fails process, right? It's what I hope to deliver to you today, so that you at least had something in these times. And even as you move forward, that when you were struck by something that feels like a failure, or feels like a setback, or feels like a flaming curveball that threw you off your axis, you could potentially return to this and go, oh yeah, remember that 1 hour thing I did? It was on a Friday night. And you go, yeah, I remember fails. That's right. What was it? First draft. How did it feel? Inhale, exhale. Did you learn anything? Okay, if it's not over because I'm still alive and I had to rewrite it, let me try it again. So as I said at the beginning, one of the inspirations was John Lennon's quote, "Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not at the end." And if you look at it, and just as I mentioned, we are all still alive. At this point, all of us on this wacky Zoom are surviving the pandemic. That's one thing, right? We are living to see other days. We have a chance now, as we embark in this transition period from this pandemic, to now go, okay, this isn't the end. We now have a future ahead of us. And maybe this process of, let me try that again, will help you as you move forward. Are there any last thoughts that anyone has in our final 2 minutes together?
Just to say thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, that's what I typed in the chat at the end, is just this session and you are a gift. So thank you so much, because it was, this was fabulous. Thank you.
That's very sweet of you to say. It's hard to tell in this virtual environment, with the wackiness of all of it. But I hope that everyone got at least something out of the experience today. And I'm honored and appreciative that you took time out of your Friday to give this a shot and see what it was about. I've left the PDF document in there. It has some of my contact information. If you want to reach out, I've got email, I've got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok even, believe it or not. But I do appreciate all of your contributions and your participation. And thank you all so much.